The best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes of this show. Friday edition. Boy, it is a busy one. Ken Goldin, the founder and CEO of Goldin Auctions, will stop by the program. Part of a longer conversation we had with him. We'll give you just a little piece of it coming up a little later on in the program. You can get the full conversation on this weekend's Sports Wrap. We will also be joined by Chris Myers, who anchors the coverage for Fox Sports on the Daytona 500, chatting with me and Tino Pattigno, our intrepid NASCAR insider, our betting insider. That coming up a little later on in the program. Odds and ends, all that good stuff. But we start things out with a little football talk. Because you could always find an excuse for football talk, and it's kind of one of those weird, slower sports weeks. Next week will kind of be the same with the NBA and the All-Star break and all of that. So we'll be doing some different things next week on the show as well. But Sam Yarnell, I was sitting in the shower this morning. I know it's one of the visuals you love most. Is
sitting in the shower?
Well, not
you're
sitting,
that
standing.
old?
No. I know. It's not one of those. But I was standing up in the shower. Let's just say that. And I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about this morning. And there were a couple of NFL topics I didn't have time to get into this week somehow. And one of them is teams that I expect to make a big jump in 2025. Now, I know some people will say, well, how can you predict who's going to make a jump in 2025? I mean, 2024 just ended. There's the offseason. There's free agency. There's the draft, yada, yada, yada. But I'm looking at teams that are poised to potentially make that jump. Keep in mind what the Eagles were the year before, and what happened to them a couple of years ago, and what they are now, and where they could, where teams could potentially be. We heard Dak Prescott earlier in the week talk about, hey, next year's our turn, which I think is kind of funny because you have Jerry Jones and the Eagles have Howie Roseman. Need I say any more? But I wanted to get your thoughts, and I'll let you lead off here. Who do you like to make the quantum leap in 2025 with what we know right now?
Buckle your seatbelts, folks. It's the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
That's right. I'm drinking the Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson Kool-Aid, and I may be going all in on this Bears team. Wow. I have fallen in love with this team. Listen, not to mention, they're top 5 in terms of available cap. They'll go out and they'll rebuild that offensive line. Most of them are free agents this year anyway. They're getting Keenan Allen off the books. Finally, thank goodness. See you later. Let's replace him with a wide receiver, and DJ Moore for that matter, with wide receivers who actually want to be here. Roma Dunze to take a second-year leap. Give me the yes on that crop. And we know that defense was serviceable last year. There's a lot of young talent on that defense. I think they, like a couple of pieces on that offense, can take a leap and, make that next step towards being, not an Eagles defense, but a Steelers-esque defense, we can say. A good, serviceable defense with 1 or 2 stars here and there. Not to mention, they've got 3 picks in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft this year. I love the Chicago Bears. They're in a great spot if they can make the right decisions, Jason. I think the Chicago Bears are poised to make a quantum leap, as you put it, next NFL season.
I'll throw one more kind of positive in the way of the Bears. They got 9 draft picks. They got 9 draft picks this year.
Like I said, 3 in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, 9 in total. I mean, you can do a lot. You can package those, you can bundle those to potentially move up. I mean, there's a lot you can do with draft capital on top of what you mentioned in terms of cap space. I'm with you. I like the Bears. It's not my pick, but I could have very easily made the argument for the Bears. So much is going to depend though on what kind of leap we see from Caleb Williams next year as well. And if you can't grow under Ben Johnson, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, because we know he's a great offensive mind. We don't know what he's going to be as a head coach, but we obviously know what he is as an offensive mind. I'll give you my team coming up in just a moment, but first a word from our friends over at Edge Boost, the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. Stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today with edgeboost.bet. And use my promo code WRAP, W-R-A-P, when you sign up for your account, which, by the way, only takes like 2 to 3 minutes. Use my promo code WRAP and get yourself a free account upgrade. All right, Sam, it's simple for me. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. Look at all the close losses they had this year, especially within the division. Are they any worse? How much worse do we really think they are than Baltimore? How much worse do they think we are than Pittsburgh, who's obviously got quarterback issues they're trying to figure out how to make that offense better? The Bengals are poised. And remember, I said this to you, I don't know, a year ago when we started talking about what are the Bengals going to do with T. Higgins and Chase. How do they figure out a way to keep both those guys? And I said it then, and it's coming to fruition now, where you've got Joe Burrow talking about renegotiating his deal in such a way so they can get both of those guys under the cap and keep this offense intact. Obviously, the defense is an issue. Lou Anarumo paid for that with his job this year. They've got 6 draft picks. They've got, opportunities in free agency to try and improve that defense, and that's going to be the key for them, Sam. How do you improve this defense, which obviously struggled through so much of the season? But I point to all the close losses they had this year. They probably had the most, one-score losses in the league, pretty close to the top of the league when it comes to one-score losses. And how many times do we see it in the NFL? Team loses a bunch of those games one year, comes back the next year, and all of a sudden, those close losses turn into close wins. They've got arguably one of the best top 3, top 4 quarterbacks in the game in Joe Burrow. I think the Bengals are poised. I really do. I think the Bengals are poised to make a run next year. Again, go look at those games against the Ravens. Close losses. Games that could go either way. A missed field goal. I mean, I think Cincinnati is poised to do good things. But the Bears pick that you gave earlier was a good one. However, I will stick with the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that I'm looking at to make a quantum leap in 2025. And look, I think free agency for them and making smart draft picks is obviously going to be critical for them on the defensive side of the ball, because we know what they can do offensively. All right, we're coming back. What are we watching this weekend in a weird sports weekend next? Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, Chris Myers of Fox Sports, anchoring the Daytona 500 coverage. Jason and Tino Pattigno will join me. We'll talk about the Daytona 500. Pick his brain a bit about that. He was there earlier in the week. He's headed back out there today. But something we used to do a lot during the NFL season, Sam Yarnell, was kind of give our advice to people on what to watch on Sunday. Well, there is no NFL to watch. And, of course, in the playoffs, it was kind of easy to tell people what to watch. So we haven't done this in a while. I figured it'd be fun to do it today. What are we watching on a weird sports weekend where there's no NBA regular season, there's no NHL regular season, there's some golf? Can I interest you in some Genesis Invitational, some live golf in Adelaide, if you can find it on the dial on like FS2 or wherever the hell it is? What are we watching this weekend? Maybe some college basketball, Sam Yarnell? What do you got for me?
Well, Jason, I'm so glad you mentioned college sports, because as we all know, this Friday, this Valentine's Day, is the most beautiful day on the sports calendar. It is opening day in college baseball. That's right. We are locked in all weekend long. We got weekend series across the map. My alma mater, the Hofstra Pride, visiting the defending national champion Tennessee Volunteers out in Knoxville. I know I'll be tuned into that on SEC Network Plus, but for real, what I definitely recommend everybody watching this weekend, because Jason also failed to mention this, is the Four Nations face-off. This has been an electric factory through the first 2 days of the tournament. If you missed it on day one Wednesday night, Canada and Sweden went to overtime, and this thing was a thriller. This Canadian power play, by the way, they scored 10 seconds into their first power play. It was insane. It's a thing of beauty to watch if you love hockey, which I'm sure some of, if not most of you out there do. On Saturday, we got a doubleheader. Sweden and Finland should be a nice little taste before we have the main dish Saturday night between Canada and the USA. This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out brawl, and no one knows who's going to win. It's a pick-em out in Vegas. I'll be locked in Saturday night, but obviously Friday and Sunday, it's all college baseball.
It took you a little while to land the plane, but once you did, I was kind of happy. It was a good landing, because USA and Canada might be must-see TV, especially when you consider it's being played in Montreal. And you've got literally fans booing the U.S. national anthem every chance they get right now because of U.S.-Canada relations and some of the things that have been going on politically, not to mention the fact that it's USA versus Canada, which would already be, I think, a knockdown, drag-out affair. So I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of excited. You might have sold me, because that wasn't my original pick for what I was going to watch this weekend. It certainly wasn't college baseball. I can promise you that. I'll tell you what I'm going to be watching this weekend coming up in just a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, and that'll save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you can save. Find out how much you can save. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code right there. What are you wearing? Wow. Did you have that hat made yourself?
Shout out to my guy, Steven Schock, the former UVA closer. You know him best from his Dippin' Dots interview at the Men's College Baseball World Series.
No, I don't.
His big donkey brand, they rock with these hats. I've been rocking it for years. I love college baseball. College baseball is, in fact, rad. No one should forget that. And a happy college baseball opening day to all of you.
I'd rather watch pitchers and catchers do like fielding practice or something than watch college baseball this early in the year. The only college baseball I will see at this time of year will be when they should force me to watch highlights of it at the end of Sports Center in the top 10 plays. That'll be it. That's all I'm watching. You know what? I'll tell you what the problem is. And, let's just veer for a second here. Here's what part of the problem is for me. I didn't go to college. So college sports in general doesn't come natural to me. I went to a semester at Southern Connecticut State University, go Owls, the home of Kevin Gilbride. I went to Southern Connecticut State University for a half a semester and dropped out. Yes, I come from a state where UConn exists. So, I've kind of adopted them as a team. But I don't have an allegiance to a college program. So college sports, I'm more loyal to my East Haven High School Yellow Jackets high school hockey and high school football programs than I am anything in college, because I didn't go.
You did, however, spend much of your life in the great state of Connecticut,
I did.
Which just so happens to be a college baseball hotbed. You're not only talking about UConn, you've also got Central Connecticut State, a completely slept-on program. Jason, I'm telling you, when you connect to your roots and you understand the fabric of the game that we love, you'll realize that in the modern era, college baseball is the foundation of that.
Fabric. Yes, I'm definitely thinking fabric right now. Maybe I'll watch some golf. Genesis Invitational this weekend. You got Scotty Scheffler there, 2 shots off the lead going into the second round. Maybe I'll watch some golf. Our buddy Michael Kim, who I've been trying to get on the show desperately. He's 3 shots off the pace. Maybe I'll watch some golf this weekend.
Did you see?
I'll find some time for some golf.
Yeah. I was watching some highlights from the Live Adelaide. I know I have way too much
Oh,
time on my
I
hands.
saw this. I know
Did
where
you
you're
see
going.
the Patrick Reed ace on the watering hole?
Yes.
I tell you, man, if Live Golf sets up a watering hole at every course, we may just have the waste management every week.
And let me tell you, man, they showered that whole tee box area where sort of he teed off from, and it certainly got people riled up. But again, the tournament's in Adelaide. Who the hell's watching it? It's going to be on at middle of the night, and they'll replay it at some other time. You're already going to know what the results are. It's just I don't understand the live strategy with doing some of these events outside the country that people have no way to watch because of the time difference. I don't know.
I'd be interested to know what kind of numbers they do in other countries, though, compared to the PGA Tour.
I would be interested to see too. Scott O'Neill, by the way, is the new Live CEO. Trying to get him on the show as well, buddy of mine. So hopefully we'll get him on in the near future. All right, let's switch gears. Literally, like the gear reference, Daytona 500. Dad jokes galore. Chris Myers is up next. This Friday edition of Sports Wrap continues. It is one of the great traditions in this country, the Daytona 500. Super Bowl, Daytona 500. Back-to-back weeks. I always love talking about it. And thrilled to be doing it with the great Chris Myers of Fox Sports, who hangs out with us on the show. He'll be anchoring the coverage from Daytona. You catch him on the NFL during the season. We were just talking off air about the dog show he did with the Westminster Kennel Club dog show. With that, you'll see him doing baseball because he doesn't like staying home. Apparently, he's just not ready to stay home yet. Tino Pattigno also taking part in the conversation. Chris, what was it like down in Daytona? I know you were down there earlier in the week. What was it like?
It's a good vibe. It's the start of the season. We did the Clash, the Fox broadcast this year, which moved from the LA Coliseum. That's used to be down in Daytona. They may be moving it around a little bit more. That's really just kind of a tune-up for some of the drivers. So there was a good sense of crew chief shifts going on, and the kind of year that they think it'll be. But Daytona's its own. It's unusual to open the season really with your most important and your biggest race, other than whoever wins the championship. Yeah, and I had a chance to sit down and have a lengthy interview with Denny Hamlin that'll run on the pre-race show on Sunday, a 3-time Daytona 500 winner, and only two other guys have won more. He has a chance to win his fourth, so a bigger picture idea for him. But yeah, looking forward to the NASCAR season. This will be for the Daytona, the Great American Race, the 67th running in Fox. Our first one was in 2001, of course, which was the loss of the great late Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, it certainly was. Give me a sense for sort of the feel around NASCAR this year. I know, the TV coverage has changed a bit. Give me a sense just in terms of what the landscape looks like from that perspective and where you are.
Yeah, and it's a trend in other sports. We saw with the NFL, the NBA, to be a part of a streaming network. NASCAR wanted to get into that as well, although there was pushback, but obviously they get paid for that, and you want to get in on the train while it's early. So the NASCAR for Fox, our schedule shortened a little bit. We don't take it to the 600. So we end our coverage in May. We don't have the Xfinity series that has gone to another network. So there's still NBC on the back end. You have the CW, you have Netflix and Turner in between, each picking up 5 races. So the NASCAR viewer really, you can get it on the go anyway. It's today's world. But as far as the way you used to watch it in one network or one place, having it all season long, and of course, no more race hub since our season was shortened, you're going to have to make sure you search and follow and dig for it. And in one sense, I think some people it'll take a while. In another sense, you may grab some younger viewers that enjoy cars, enjoy the kind of racing. And the schedule has been shifted a little bit too, which is good. On the Fox schedule now, we picked up the Miami race at Homestead. So there's some things to look forward to.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is how NASCAR wants to continue to expand. You mentioned the different schedule changes and networks, everything like that, but expanding globally, right? They're going to Mexico this year and trying to get their, tracks and drivers to be worldwide and really known that way. Do you see that happening at all? And what's your outlook in terms of NASCAR's goals there?
Yeah, no, and I get, and other sports too want to be global. You're seeing it with the NFL and the NBA. I think NASCAR has to be, it's the great American sport, and it is appreciated overseas in Europe, et cetera. And so there is room. You have to hit the right places, though. They've talked about Canada, mentioned Mexico, Brazil. Believe it or not, has been chatted about as a possible clash site. Now you got to be careful in terms of logistics because you're not just a team traveling with the players. You're talking about driver and cars and equipment. So the cost, it has to be, and then of course the racing venue has to be right. So the schedule, I think, needs to be, if they're going to do it, which is great, you have to adjust for that to be fair, to get the quality of races that you want and to protect the wear and tear on cars.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. How do you come off of a year like last year? And I will say last year was the first year that I really sunk my teeth into NASCAR in the way I did, where, and I credit Tino for this because he got me into it. I watched virtually every race, at least some of just about every race. And it was the first time I ever did that. And I feel like I picked the great year to do it because it felt like there was just nonstop drama and great storylines throughout the whole year. How does NASCAR sort of follow up on that? I know the drivers sort of dictate that, but it feels like it's going to be hard to top what they did last year.
Well, that's what's great about the NASCAR. And last year, you're right. I mean, you remember that Atlanta race finish, which is early in last year, and what Atlanta has become, and obviously Daytona 500, Talladega, they provide, and then even the chase for the championship. But they're going to leave the rules the same for one more year. I know some people want some adjustments, but they didn't want to tinker with it. But Joey Logano, for him to do what he did, and it's like a wild card team getting into a playoff and then he ended up winning the second most races overall. Early in the year, it looked like somebody like Denny Hamlin, it might finally be his championship year, or William Byron, who won the Daytona 500 last year. But then later, once you needed the races to get in and who gets hot at the right time, and I think drivers and teams and crew chiefs are learning now over the long haul of the season to handle that. So I don't have the list in front of me, but the number of passes, the number of close finishes, the variety of drivers that won, and of course, how a guy like Joey Logano won to add to his championship resume. So, but I think drivers are adjusting, and the cars. I mean, economically, they had to make some changes with the next gen car. We've been through it now a few years, and so it's tough to top it. And again, I think the season, and I give you credit for being a loyal viewer, because when we hit the NFL or college football season, it's tough. NASCAR kind of gets lost, at least on the national scale. Yes, you have your diehards, so there ought to be a way. And I don't know what the future plans are. Just mentioned a moment ago about scheduling. Maybe they can schedule races on weeknights, or Tuesdays or Wednesdays, so you're not competing, especially in that chase or that final stretch with the NFL or college football.
Does that make the turn? But let me ask you real quick, and I only have about 45 seconds in this segment. We're going to hold you over for one more. But would it be tough to do that sort of turnaround so quickly for drivers if you were to have weekday races? Could they do that?
Well, you'd have to set, almost like you do Thursday night football. You'd have to give them the week. In other words, once you start, they would need to travel. Then, okay, you're going to run on Tuesday nights for the next few nights or during this stretch. And you can double up early in areas that are close, like a Charlotte or a Bristol or something, where the crews and the equipment and the cars, most of the shops are near there. So that's the week, maybe the weeks leading up to that. So you get a little bit of a break, and then you go on that schedule. It's just a thought. It's kind of my own thought as someone who enjoys it. But for that reason, I think just like you move the Daytona 500 back, and if the NFL goes to an 18-game schedule, which is going to happen, it's just a matter of whether it's 2 years or 3 years, and then the Super Bowl slides. So you're going to have the Daytona 500 slide back, or have it in the off week between the championship game and the Super Bowl. Something to think about in the future.
I would love watching races on Tuesday or Wednesday night when the NFL is going on. More with Chris Myers on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Keep the conversation moving into another gear, I guess you could say, with our friend Chris Myers. Does a great job over at Fox Sports. Also, the author of a book that came out late last year, That Deserves a Wow. You can get it over on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all your favorite book retail. I got to get an autographed copy from you. Whenever I get an author, I got to get an autographed copy of that book.
I'll get one for you and Tito. You'll have to make sure I have your mailing.
Absolutely.
Address.
I would love it.
The extra amount, and usually they send them out. HarperCollins to certain people to help publicize.
Absolutely.
Of course, with audiobooks now is a big thing that it's going well. I did my own voice in the book, which was kind of a lot of fun.
How long did it take to do the audiobook?
Well, they set up it's about a 300-page book, so it's a comfortable read. But they schedule 5 4-hour sessions, and I did it. I ended up doing. I guess it's different pace for different people, but I did it in about 3 or 2, really 2.5, almost 3. Wow. It's funny because you're in there, you're going, and you write it, and then a while later you're reading your own. I had some help with research and phrasing, but I'm like, who said that? And they're like, you did. It's written right here, so make sure you. So it brought back some memories of things, but it covers all sports. Yeah, there's some Daytona 500 and NASCAR on Fox in there, but it's a personal journey that I hope is an inspiration to people from World Series to Super Bowls. But it was a lot of fun to write and reflect because all of a sudden I'm like, wow, 3 decades have gone by, at 10 at ESPN, 20 plus at Fox, and some great, interesting stories I covered that you saw it on the surface, but then beneath it, there's a lot more to tell. And I think people, yeah, it's
always the stories behind the scenes. Go ahead, Tino.
Well, it's definitely your journey has been inspiring to me. I could definitely say that. And one comment that I read about your book is something that you had posted as well. It was by Rick Hendrick, NASCAR Hall of Famer, a truly unique perspective from a career dedicated to making viewers feel closer to the action. He said that about you and your story. So what does that feel like to have someone say that about you, especially someone of that caliber like Rick Hendrick? Oh, I want to follow up with that too, because what are those type of relationships like, especially with being as media, right? You have to report the facts, talk about these players and coaches and team members all together, but also keeping the same great relationship with them like you had now with Rick Hendrick, Charles Barkley, like you mentioned. What's that dynamic of the media, you being that, and then compared to those great players and Hall of Famers?
Yeah, and it's great because you have to like the person, and then you say, okay, well, he's a great player, he's a great owner. Bill Murray wrote the foreword, he's a great entertainer. We have to have something else in common for us to carry over. Other than just having a working relationship. But I do think it's important. Sometimes you can get so close to somebody that you're not so inside when you're reporting or doing a broadcast for the public. And that's where, if there's news or some tough questions to be asked, I think it's our responsibility to still ask that and to still address that. And if they're really friends of yours or people that understand what you do, then they won't take offense to it. They're like, hey, this is important for our sport to ask. For example, we have this unique situation with the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports suing NASCAR over the charter system. It's really over freedom, and it's in the courts. And it's a difficult situation because we're not going to take sides. We just don't want it's like when there was a work stoppage covering disputes in baseball or football. We just want to keep the sport going and do what's best for the fan so they're not left out. So those are things. That's an important question, but it's important to have some of those relationships so that we're on top of the news and the stories when things that go a little bit out of the ordinary, which happens often in sports.
I want to ask you, and I know Tina wants to ask you about the playoffs coming up here in just a second in the playoff format. But I got a quick read I got to do, thanks to our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, and that'll save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you can save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code below. Go ahead, Tina.
So I think the biggest thing in the NASCAR world right now is the playoff format. You mentioned when we talked in the last segment about Joey Logano coming on strong, coming on hot, winning that championship there, when it looked like he may have not been able to do so earlier on in the season. But it's the wild cardness that brings in the playoff format and everything like that, which I appreciate because I feel like that's similar to stick and ball sports, right? We see a wild card team in the NFL, NBA get hot at a certain point and win it all. Do you agree with the current NASCAR playoff format? And if you could change anything, what would it be?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't have all the answers, and I'm glad that they're letting it run its course and fine. I think there are little tweaks, and I do think the person who's won the most races during the year, to me, it's all about winning, right? Finishing second, you can play the points game, and that's part of it. And you have a points regular season winner before the playoffs. I love it that you win a race, you get into the playoff, right? How great is that? I mean, it's pretty much 99.9%. I would like that regular season winner of the most races to somehow get some more advantage or be rewarded a little bit more. And I mean, obviously you have the challenge of people who aren't in the playoffs racing with the drivers who are, and you have to fine tune, especially teammates, things like that. I don't have the answer on that, but I think NASCAR is looking into that. But I do think you can't go back to the old system of just points where things are decided so early. So I think that I give NASCAR credit for at least trying to do the right thing, stepping in the right direction, just like they are with the schedule and trying to be international. But they don't also want to leave their roots, which not only with the playoff system, which we saw going back to a place like Winston-Salem and Bowling Gray, kind of an old school neighborhood, racetrack. So that's where they have to find that balance. So I would make a few tweaks, but not too much, because we like the wild card. I like it being about winning and less about points. Stage points, I get it. Points have to count for something, but winning should supersede everything else.
Chris Myers, the book is That Deserves a Wow. You can watch him this weekend over on Fox with the NASCAR coverage in the Daytona 500. Look forward to watching you throughout the season, my friend. I know you got some baseball duties as well. We'll catch up down the line. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Don't forget the pre-race show, 12:30 Sunday, 12:30 Eastern. And also, I would watch Ryan Blaney in this 500. I mean, it's always a wide open race.
All right.
Long shots, but that's just one to think about. Those Penske cars, and I already got one on the front row. So anyway, enjoy. Thanks for having me on. We'll talk to you guys again.
All right, one more segment with Ken Goldin of Goldin Auctions, founder and CEO, hanging out with us, talking about the industry. One last thing on skeins, and then I want to ask you about something that I think sticks in a lot of people's craw when it comes to the card collecting industry. On the skeins 1 of 1, the patch auto, the debut patch that made so much news, young man pulled the card, and there was this great debate about what he should do. The Pirates offered him a ton of stuff to give them the card, or trade to give them the card. I know you had made an offer to the young man that I thought was very generous. He ultimately decided to go with Fanatics and Topps in terms of auctioning that card off, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong. What did you make of the way that whole situation played out and sort of the way it worked its way out?
Sure. Look, this is the problem that I have a profound problem with the manufacturer of trading cards wanting to control the entire distribution and the entire industry. I will openly tell everybody and have that I do not like the fact that Topps, is Fanatics, we'll call them. Fanatics has a auction house where they are trying to keep all of the cards that people pull. So it's like, hey, you get a big hit out of our pack, put it, forget the thousands of people who buy and sell cards throughout the world. Forget the bigger platforms such as Goldin Auctions and our parent company, eBay. Sell it with us. And the problem in this case is, you were partially correct about the history with that card. Is we had told originally, I did a video saying, hey, we really want this card.
Right.
Nobody had found it. And then it was announced that an 11-year-old boy found it, and he was from LA. So I said, oh, he's from LA. I'll tell you what, here's what I'm going to do, because they just had the fire. So I made a video and I said that we will auction the card for free. Whatever our buyer's premium is, we are going to donate to the LA wildfire recovery effort. And hopefully somebody out there can get this message to the family. Within 48 hours, we discovered that the card had already been, by the time I made the video, it was already redeemed from Topps and signed a contract with Fanatics. And of course, Fanatics must have scrambled. They must have been, oh crap, Ken Goldin just said he's going to give all of his money away to charity, so we better copy him,
right,
and we better do the same thing. So they came out and said, we have the card and we're going to donate our proceeds to charity. But the fact of the matter is the card was a redemption, which meant that when the family contacted Topps to get the card, they basically said, hey, consign it with us. He didn't have an opportunity to negotiate with anybody else. So look, point blank, sorry, David. I hate the fact that Topps owned, and David is the president of Topps. I hate the fact that Topps owns an auction house. I think it's bad business. I think it drags down your product, and you should get rid of it. And I think that there's enough great marketplaces and auction houses in the industry to handle the buying and selling of trading cards. Topps should focus on manufacturing and producing the best trading cards they possibly can and ensuring it's a healthy market.
I could not agree with you more. I didn't know that was going to be your answer, and I couldn't agree with you more. Last one before I let you go. Breakers.
Yes.
I don't like it. I don't like it. They take all the boxes. They get so much of the inventory. We see what happens, all these crazy pulls that come out of them. How do you feel about the breaking industry and what it's meant overall to the collectibles industry as a whole?
Look, I think people like box breaks. I do it with my son. I've done a lot of Instagram lives box breaks, but there's a difference between box breaks and people who are professional breakers. I don't fault professional breakers who have built a business around it. I do know that some people don't like the fact that they think they get favorable treatment, and they do. They get special breakers boxes, things like that. It's certainly an unregulated type of industry. But I think what you have to realize is for people who can't afford a $2,000 box to spend $50 and get a chance.
It's a lottery ticket. It's like a scratch off, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it gives them an opportunity. I think that there are some bad actors in the breaking industry. I think some of the behavior of some of the breakers online leaves a lot to be desired. But I think that there are a lot of good breakers out there who sell the breaks at fair markups, at fair prices. And I also think breaking, in a way, is entertainment. People get excited by it. People enjoy watching. So if it's done right, I don't mind it. In fact, sometimes if I'm up at 1 a.m, I'll pop on and try and hide out, and it helps me see what the product looks like. So I'll watch somebody break a box.
All right. Fair enough. And look, I do think there are some honest, genuinely good breakers out there, but I have seen some of the ones that I think you're referring to, and some of the behavior that goes with it, and some of the shtick that goes with it, and sometimes it could just be tough to watch. Listen, Ken Goldin, I got to say, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I hope we can do it again sometime down the line. I love what you're doing with Goldin Auctions. Continue the good work, my friend.
Thank you so much. And hey, everyone, go to goldin.com, check out. I think we got 7 auctions running right now, everything from $5 to $5 million.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at it. You got a lot of stuff on there. I might have to go take a look myself. Thank you again, and We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jason. Have a good one.
And again, be sure to catch our full conversation between myself and Ken Goldin, of course, of Goldin Collectibles and Goldin Auctions, rather, on this weekend's edition of Sports Wrap, the full 30 minutes with Ken Goldin talking about everything going on in the world of collectibles, because there is plenty to talk about, including Jalen Hurts' value, Saquon Barkley's value now coming off of the Super Bowl. We'll have a ton to get into with him and that'll be on this weekend's edition of Sports Wrap, available hopefully on many of these same stations. All right, time to wrap up the show. How are we going to do it? Odds and ends. Tino Pattigno, a special guest in Odds and Ends. Daytona 500 predictions, little women's basketball, and a whole bunch more. Don't go anywhere. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this Friday edition of the show. Don't forget, Sports Wrap weekends, wherever available, maybe on this affiliate. If not, check your local listing for time and schedule. We got a great one for you this weekend. Ken Goldin from Goldin Auctions will be on the show. Did the entire show with us, talk about the collectibles industry, what you should do if you want to go after Jalen Hurts cards. You heard a little bit of our conversation with him just a few minutes ago. All right, Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast. Go and check that out as well. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Let's not waste any time. Time for some odds and ends presented by our friends at Edge Boost. I am pumped to tell you about our friends at Edge Boost. We've been telling about them for the last month now. The financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. And with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be blocked for gambling activity because it's the card for gamblers. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That is edgeboost.bet. Yes, Sammy Arnell, get your Edge Boost on.
Oh, sorry, I was just scanning that QR code.
Did I say click on it? Scan, click. Like that. Use the
promo
promo
I think
code.
You said scan.
By
You've
the way,
gotten a lot better at that. Credit to you.
Well, you gave me enough crap about it, so I had to.
I mean, way to watch film, get in the room, and get better. That's all I'm saying.
Use the promo code WRAP, by the way. When you sign up for your account, you'll get a free upgrade, courtesy of us and our friends over at Edge Boost. All right, guys. Oh, look, it's Tino. Tino's back. Somehow, magically, Tino Pattigno has appeared. And he's less Phantom of the Opera right now than he was earlier in the show with our conversation with Chris Myers. Tino, welcome to Odds and Ends. All right, guys, Odds and Ends. How about the performance from USC last night, knocking off top-ranked UCLA 71-60 behind a huge effort from Juju Watkins, who just continues to shine. How about this stat line? 38 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and 8 blocks in the game for Juju. Can we just fast forward and get her to the WNBA? I'm ready for WNBA right now.
She is going to be so... Jason, you and I talked about this on the show when Caitlin's season ended, gosh, not even 10 months ago at this point. The WNBA is going to be so much better off having the combination of Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Juju Watkins, and Angel Reese. Sure, we can throw her in there too. But those are 5 generational talents. Those are 5 talents who I just named, who, if you sprinkled those in individually over the course of WNBA history, we're talking about an all-time player, and now we're going to see them all play in the same league. This is the peak of the WNBA so far, and it's only continuing to rise.
I just love all the fire right now around women's basketball. It is the time and place to be there. Daytona 500 this weekend, and that is why Tino Pattigno is here, ladies and gentlemen. The Daytona 500 this weekend. All right, because we had Chris Myers on, we didn't get to get your typical picks that we would get in. Tino Pattigno, the floor is yours. What do you like for the Daytona 500 this weekend?
Well, it's going to be an exciting race. My favorite part about Daytona, and especially the 500, is the fact that it's the Super Bowl of motorsports. We just saw the Super Bowl recently, right? It was a snooze fest. Well, now the most exciting race, or one of them of the entire season, kicks off the NASCAR season. And Ryan Blaney's the favorite in this one for good reason. He is one of the best super speedway drivers on the circuit right now, 13-1 in order for him to get the win. And I like that value for Blaney, especially because when we look at his past history, he's always getting redemption, right? Homestead Miami Speedway, we talked about it last year. He finished in second, had the race won, got blown by on the final corner, wins at Martinsville the next week. Well, Ryan Blaney lost the championship to Joey Logano, finished in second, was probably 1 or 2 laps away. Well, now he had all the offseason to think about it. I think he can get it done in the Daytona 500, much like Kyle Busch as well. It's been 20 years of trying.
Kyle Busch, let's go.
And especially after a winless season last year, 13-1 for Kyle Busch. The one thing that I will say about these favorites is super speedways are so unpredictable. Sometimes I really don't like to put my money in that area. But with these two drivers, they're proven to have the results despite them being the favorites in races similar to this before. We saw Kyle Busch last year in the Daytona race to potentially get him into the playoffs. He finished in second. He was also heavily favorited in that race as well.
Sam, Sam, we suck. I'm going to tell you why we suck. We did a whole segment on what to watch this weekend, and we didn't even mention the Daytona 500. We suck. We suck. We suck. and I'm glad. I am honored that people watch this show, but I have to say we suck because we did an entire segment on what to watch this weekend, and we didn't mention the Daytona 500. How does that happen?
All right. I got to get this intel.
All right, quick.
Tino, Jimmy Johnson, the 49-year-old, is making an appearance in this race. I must be out of the loop with NASCAR.
It's like WrestleMania.
You got 30 seconds to tell me why and convince me not to bet him for a top 10 at plus 330 because that looks juicy.
You got 10 seconds, Tito. Go.
The equipment he's racing in is not as good as he has driven it before, but he can get a top 10. Shaq's on the hood of that car as well, so nice paint scheme. You got MJ racing, LeBron's team racing, and now Shaq as well.
You got Elio Castroneves in the race, too.
Wait, MJ, Shaq, and LeBron do NASCAR now? My head's going to explode. We got to get out of here.
And that's what we're going to do. I want to thank you all for joining us this weekend. Fun show. Thanks to Ken Goldin. Thanks to Chris Myers, Tino Pattigno, Sammy Arnell. All of you for watching. Enjoy all the sports this weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.